Welcome to Vsb News Online for Friday, February the 20th. I'm Charles Webb. A complex billion-dollar budget that will need to borrow $125 million to keep the government ship afloat while looking forward to overseas investment of around $1 billion was presented in Parliament today by Finance Minister Bob Richards. Increases in the payroll tax, commercial land tax, head tax, fuel tax, and corporate tax were revealed with the prediction that government will earn $931 million and spend $912 million in the coming year. Mr. Richards gave his breakdown at a press conference earlier today.
Bermuda will meet its goals of returning to overall growth with an investment stimulus of about $930 million over 3 years, while at the same time breaking the back of the government deficit, which will pave the way for the reduction of debt. We are introducing yet another new finance rule. And the rule is that borrowing may only be considered for capital expenditure, and all current expenditure must be financed from current revenues. And this is a signal of our commitment to return Bermuda to its prudential roots. Clearly, we're not meeting that criteria yet, but it is a statement of an objective for us to return to our prudential roots. Another highlight is that the government intends to have a balanced budget within 3 years. That's our goal. Government intends to establish also an international independent committee to review, monitor, assess, and publicly report on the fiscal progress of this government. Insofar as the budget itself is concerned, the budget seeks to decrease expenditure by $33.1 million or 3.5%. On the revenue side, revenues are forecast to rise by 3.3% or $29.6 million. The current account balance before debt service is budgeted to be a surplus of $18.5 million for the first time since the fiscal year 2007-8. But of course, we will still be in an overall deficit. The overall deficit is budgeted to be $220 million, a reduction of $47.2 million or 17.7%. Now, the revenue increases are a result of increased taxes. The standard rate of payroll tax will be increased to 14.5%. That's up 0.5%. The rate of tax recoverable from employees will be set at 5.5%. That's up from 5.25%. This is so that the increase may be shared by both employer and employee. The current payroll tax concessions for hospitality, restaurant, and retail sectors will be partially rolled back with these businesses in these sectors paying a rate of 5.5%. Now, all of the payroll tax increases will aggregate to $353 million. The duty on fuel will be raised by 5 cents per liter, and that will yield the government $9.6 million. Land tax on commercial properties will increase from 4.4% to 5.5%. That should yield $4.1 million. Corporate service tax rate will be increased from 6% to 7%, yielding an additional $1 million. The airport tax will be increased from $35 a head to $50 a head, yielding an additional $5.5 million. The forecast reduction in current spending is estimated at 3.5%, as the furlough will not be renewed. A renewal of the furlough would have enabled us to meet our 5% target.
During his post-briefing press conference, Premier Michael Dunkley pledged to right-size the government with a plan to balance the budget in 3 years.
The budget makes it very clear we're making progress, again, on 2 fronts. The lineup of projects and initiatives from the America's Cup to hotel development from one end of the island to the other will provide the jobs and the opportunities that our people need. Secondly, our effort to control and to reduce government spending is actually taking hold. By the end of fiscal 2015-16, for example, we will have reduced the government's annual deficit by approximately $110 million, a reduction of 30%. We will have moved our current account before debt service payments to a surplus position, the first time in more than 7 years. This is real, significant, and tangible progress. We are, in effect, rebuilding the economic model in ways that can serve our people's needs through good times and difficult times.
Asked if there was a plan to adopt a multi-year approach or any proposals of his predecessor in the former government, both he and the finance minister looked, shall we say, incredulous.
Really? You want an answer? No, it's a new government.
Yeah,
it's a new day.
We have our own strategy. I've announced today that in 3 fiscal years we intend to balance the budget. That's a multi-year plan. We're already operating in a multi-year plan now. But that, as far as I can tell, is the only resemblance to what we're doing to what the previous finance minister did.
The hostile attitude of the United States, Europe, and the United Kingdom towards legitimate offshore financial centers like Bermuda poses a threat that Finance Minister Bob Richards told Parliament today could bring the island to its knees.
In last year's budget statement, we introduced the topic of financial independence to the public conversation in Bermuda. A year later, I can say that never in any of our lifetimes has Bermuda faced an external regulatory or tax environment that is as hostile to our core international business model, and thus to our very ability to feed, clothe ourselves, to educate our children abroad, or enjoy a reasonable standard of living from earnings from international business. Recently, a very senior official in the U.S. Treasury Department was quoted in the media as saying, and I quote, "To be blunt, we really do need to kill the zero tax jurisdictions." Mr. Speaker, to kill. You can't be clearer than that.
And we'll be back with more news right after this.
The Marketplace Food Court is you and your family's one-stop shop. Start your day at the Breakfast Bar with omelets made to order and traditional Bermuda codfish breakfast. The chefs will cook lunch and dinner to your liking. Along with the salad bar, sandwich bar, sushi bar, and fruit bar, the Marketplace Food Court is your kitchen away from home. Every day is hassle-free with nutritious meals from the Marketplace Food Court. Visit us 7 days a week. Homemade cooking, quality service, all at prices you can count on.
Finance Minister Bob Richards was able to list close to $1 billion worth of hotel development that was currently on the books and showed every sign of moving to spades in the ground when he delivered his budget speech today.
The government has focused on creating the conditions necessary to attract that investment. The St. George's project, $140 million. The Ritz Reserve up in Morgan's Point, $160 million. That's phase 1. Phase 2 of Hamilton Princess, $40 million. Sinky Bay or South Beach, $5 million. Pink Beach, $30 million. Aerial Sands, $50 million. The airport terminal, $255 million. America's Cup, $250 million. They total $930 million to be injected over the next 1 to 3 years. For an economy whose GDP is about $5 billion, a stimulus of almost $1 billion, or 20%, is massive. There are a number of questions arising from this massive injection. Is it for real? Is it large enough? It is the government's judgment that the scale is appropriate. The length of Bermuda's recession, its severity, and the fact that the USA has long since emerged from its recession strongly supports our long-held view that our problem is local and structural, not cyclical.
Deputy Premier Bob Richards told Parliament that the claim the America's Cup would cost the Bermuda government a total of $77 million was false. He provided a breakdown of the impending costs as he saw them.
The claim that the America's Cup will cost the Bermuda government $77 million is false. That statement assumes that the America's Cup in Bermuda will be an abysmal failure with no sponsors. That type of thinking only guarantees failure as an outcome. Government funding for both these categories will be spent in Bermuda as part of our agreement with the America's Cup Event Authority, providing an additional stimulus to Bermuda's economy. It is not money spent on mega-rich overseas elites, as one critic said. By the end of the current 2014-15 fiscal year, government will have spent $4.66 million, which includes $1 million in sponsorship, $3.1 million in capital infrastructure costs, and $0.6 million in operational expenses for the ACBDA and the Ministry of Economic Development. As this expenditure was not anticipated during the initial preparation of the 2014-15 budget, it will be addressed through a supplementary estimate. In the upcoming 2015-16 fiscal year, the government will budget $11.7 million for America's Cup-related expenses. $4 million will be sponsorship money that the ACEA will spend in Bermuda, and $4.9 million will be allocated for capital, infrastructure, and site preparation. The remaining $2.8 million will fund operational costs, including the ACBDA, ministry expenses, and costs associated with the World Series events in October.
And now we turn to Earl Baston with the latest from the sports desk.
Bermuda's under-18 select team have gone down 5-2 to USA's under-17 national team. The USA under-17 national team's head coach, Richie Williams, is using this match and another one with the Bermuda under-18 select team to prepare their preparation for the 2015 CONCACAF under-17 championships. Bermuda began the game brightly with a goal from Unico Lowe with their first shot of the game. Casey Butterfield blasted a long-range free kick that found its way into the back of the net to give Bermuda a 2-0 lead. The United States of America's under-17 national team, however, scored back-to-back goals in the 24th and 36th minutes from Christian Pullis and Joe Gallardo to draw level before halftime. Josh Perez made it 3-2 with a goal in the 50th minute, and Haji Wright scored from the penalty spot in the 86th minute, and he scored again in the 88th minute as the USA under-17 national team earned a 5-2 win over the Bermuda under-18 select team. A New Zealand sailor whose contract was terminated by America's Cup champion Oracle Team USA has filed a suit in federal court seeking to have the syndicate's prototype boat confiscated as the seamen's looking for unpaid wages. Joe Spooner filed suit in U.S. District Court asking federal marshals to arrest the foiling 45-foot catamaran that the two-time America's Cup champion is testing on San Francisco Bay and keeps at Pier 80. Spooner said in his filing that his contract of $25,000 a month was terminated in January without cause. He was a grinder with Oracle Team USA during its America's Cup victories in 2010 and 2013. Oracle Team USA declined to comment. Dale Eve and his Stoke City under-21 teammates crashed out of the Staffordshire FA Senior Cup at the quarter-final stage following a 2-1 loss to Walsall Wood. Chaz Smith represented Dalhousie University at the Athletics Nova Scotia indoor track meet. In the 20 to 34 age group men's long jump, Smith finished first with a top leap of 6.24 meters. Smith finished second while competing in the 20 to 34 age group men's triple jump with a top leap of 14.22 meters. Michael Franklin went down in his first round match of the $5,000 men's global relocation Israel Open squash event. Playing at the Hazler Squash Club in Israel, Franklin took on Bernat Germain from Spain. Franklin went down in 4 games that took 48 minutes. Jermaine won the first game 11-7 before Franklin won the second game 11-8. Jermaine would win the third game 11-3 before closing out the match, winning the fourth game 13-11. The Smash Table Tennis Commercial League season resumed inside the Smash Tables Tennis facility last evening with week 11 of the season. TBA defeated the Itsy Bitsy Smashers 5-4. The Ball Breakers defeated Dynamite 5-0, while Happy Valley Danto defeated the Smashin' Ballers 5-1. Smash and Dash defeated Security Associates 5-3. The Bermuda Dressage Group are preparing to hold their leg of the Group 10 FEI World Dressage Challenge on November 28th at the National Equestrian Center on Vesey Street. The competition is set to get underway at 12 noon with classes to run in the following order. Class 1, the FEI Challenge Preliminary Test, Adult and Children. Class 2, FEI Challenge Elementary Test, Adult and Children. The FEI Challenge Medium Test, the FEI Challenge Advanced Test, and would conclude with Test 5, the Grand Prix. Team captain Tabitha Hawfines turned in Bermuda's top performance at the Chicago-style Invitational Gymnastics meet, winning the gold medal during her vaulting performance with a 9.3 and a bronze medal in her all-around with 34.45. Competing in the level 6 11-year-old category was Jazari Talbot, a promising young athlete and the youngest member of the team. Talbot had a consistent performance highlighted by a 8.85 on the vault. In the level 7 session, Gianna Webb turned in a stellar floor routine with a 9.35. In the 13-year-old age group division, Ava Marshall had her highest placement on the beam with a 8.725. Trinity Wilson recorded her high score on the vault with a 8.75. Competing alongside Hawfines in the level 9 16-plus-year-old age group was Sydney Mason, who earned 4th place on the floor with a 9.0. Gabby Vincent had her highest finish on the bars with a 5th place. Danielle Wall had her top score of 8.7 on the vault, and Sam Soares earned a pair of 8.05s on the vault and beam. Anna Francoeur earned an 8th place medal in the 12-year-old division on the balance beam with a 8.45. I'm Earl Baston reporting for VSB Sports.
Looking at the weather for Saturday, February the 21st, there will be a mix of sun and clouds. Wind will be northerly, light to moderate, varying easterly and moderate overnight. We're expecting a high of near 62 and a low near 54. This weather forecast is courtesy of the Bermuda Weather Service. Now, after all that weather and budget woes this week, we thought we'd end the news on a love story. Amy and Ken McGreevy of LaGrange, Georgia, came back to Bermuda with their children, grandchildren, to renew their vows on their 60th wedding anniversary. Their son, Brian McGreevy of St. Philip's Church in South Carolina, performed the ceremony in a reading room at the Rosedon Hotel, appropriately decorated for the occasion. And why did they choose Bermuda for this auspicious occasion?
We have always been interested in Bermuda because, amongst other things, it's very close to the U.S. But when we were living in Charleston, South Carolina, our neighbor across the street was a retired Army colonel who was stationed here. And he told us about Bermuda and piqued our interest. We came here for our 47th wedding anniversary. We loved it. We liked it so much we came back on our 48th. And then when we decided on our 50th anniversary, when we were going to bring our children with us, we decided on Bermuda. We have been we don't travel a lot. At older age, we have traveled some. We've been to Europe and the UK and France and Ireland and so on. And we have never been in a country that is so, where the people are so pleasant. When I think of Bermuda, I think of a smile.
I like Bermuda for all the same reasons that my husband does, particularly the friendly people. Our daughter brought us here on her 35th wedding anniversary to Rosedon, and although we'd stayed other places, the people here were so charming and so welcoming and so very gracious to us that we thought we would come here again and again, if only it were possible. So this year we're here with our children, their wives and husbands, and our 3 grandsons who love it as much as we do.
Now, I understand your son is performing the ceremony.
Oh, yes. Our son is an Anglican priest, and we are so proud of him because what he wants to do is to make the world a better place to live.
That's a lovely note to end on. Thanks for watching Vsb News Online for Friday, February the 20th. I'm Charles Webb. Stay warm.